Quick question for all the men watching. What's the hardest thing about being a man today? For me personally, this question has multiple different answers. There's not one particular answer that stands out more than the other. But the reason why I asked this question was because about a couple days ago, I was scrolling through Reddit and I saw this question pop up by a woman who is having a discussion with her family. And she asked, what's the hardest thing about being a man? And it got me thinking as I was scrolling through the thread of other men commenting on this. There are multiple different things that are hard when you're a man. And I'm not talking about down there, but I put together some of the top comments on that and I kind of wanted to talk about it. And I guess let's just go through it. One of the top comments said lack of support, help, caring, well-being, etc. And I think that's a big one because, I guess speaking personally, and probably other men watching this can relate, there is not much of a support system for men in general. I think there are false support systems. There's a lot of these alpha male boot camps that's just rifting, trying to prey on weak men, and that's not what I'm talking about. I think like a real support system where men can go share their feelings, actually help each other better themselves, and not necessarily kind of have one guy who's just kind of talking down to each other, just men talking to each other. And there really isn't much of that at all. Maybe there's like some sort of mentorships, I know some men try to mentor young boys and stuff like that, but there's nothing really for older men to go out and seek help if they need help with something. And I think that is a big problem with being a man compared to like women have much better support systems with each other. They're much more open to communicating. And, men just don't talk to their friends like that, ask them if they're okay, check up on them. And I'm guilty of this as well. But that was a top comment. And that got me thinking that there isn't much out there for us in terms of, caring and well-being and just stuff like that. Another top comment, which I didn't think about, but it's really kind of telling now that I kind of think about it, is we're expendable. And kind of with that is wartime and then like dangerous jobs. So like in war, most of the people who die in war are going to be men. And when you talk about war, when you talk about conflict, it's always save the women and children, save the women and children. And you never hear save the men. Men are going to war. Men are always the first up to be drafted. It's always young men. And there's not really anyone to watch over or protect us when that happens. It's always, hey, you're the first one out. You got to go out there. And I never thought about that, but yeah, it's true. Men are expendable. One man dies, you'll get another man who will go take his place, and it's just like nothing happened. And all the dangerous jobs as well. Most of the dangerous jobs are done by men. And, if a man dies doing that job, just get another man to do it. It's just like that. The next one was emotions, and I guess that kind of ties back to the first thing I was talking about, like lack of support, care-being, and all that. Speaking personally, it is hard to share my emotions because I feel like no one cares if I do sit down or talk about, well, not no one cares, but like no one wants to hear a man bitching about his emotions. If it just put it bluntly like that, it's just hard to talk to people. It's hard to be vulnerable and just be like, hey, I'm going through something, I need someone to talk to. This is what I'm going through. It's just like, I would rather just bottle it in and just tell no one and just kind of lock in and just, I don't know, avoid it altogether. All right, I want to talk about the most serious comment on this thread. And this is probably the biggest one on this thread that is just difficult about being a man in general. I think in any time period, let alone in 2024. And I want to read this comment specifically because, again, only men go through this. When your underwear rolls up your thigh and your balls get incredibly uncomfortable, but the trusty side step isn't fixing it and you really can't put your hand inside your pants to fix it in the moment. Totally agree. And for me, this is a big problem when I'm walking or running, especially on the treadmill. The underwear will just slide up and, it's uncomfortable. It gets a little awkward. You're just kind of like, oh shit, this is weird. And I can't stick my hand down my pants because I'm at the gym and I'm in like the public setting. I can't, if I was in the locker room or the bathroom, that's one thing. But, when you're in motion, you can't just adjust or someone will stare at you. Worse, a pretty girl will stare at you. And then that's just like, oh, you make eye contact, your hands down your pants. It's just, oh, get this creep out of here. Get him out of here. He's a pervert. But yeah, balls is a big or small problem depending on your size. I mean, that's what it is when you're a man. Your balls are just making your dick uncomfortable. So this next one is men being proactive. So men being brave or men being manly. And I really relate to this because I'm not the most brave person. I'm not the most manly person, but if you're a man, you're kind of expected to always take initiative, whether it comes to dates or just sex, just being a leader. I think most people see men as just being naturally a leader or something, or just being brave in general, just like, oh, if something's happening, let's send out the man. He'll go take care of it. Or something's broken, hey, fix it. And it's just like, I'm not that guy all the time or most of the time. I need help. And it kind of feels embarrassing to ask for help when you're just kind of like, oh, you're a man. You can't change a tire. You can't, build something. And it's just like, look around. I can just YouTube it real quickly. I don't know. I just don't see myself as the most manliest man. And it just feels like a lot of pressure when you don't know how to do something, or especially other men. I think other men do this a lot and less than women, but it's like, oh, if you don't know how to do something, you get this crazy look like you don't know how to do this. Like, we fucking raised you. It's just like, my mom raised me. But listen, I'm not the manliest man. I'm not the bravest person. I get scared sometimes. Is that okay? Chill, please. Okay, my video cut off for some reason, so hopefully you got all that last one. If not, fuck it. Okay. This next one is a big one, honestly. I feel like if you don't have this, you're seen as pretty much nothing. But financial success, and that can mean different things to different people. But I think just being financially able to take care of yourself. If you are a man with no money, you're basically seen as useless. Why don't you have a job? Why are you lazy? Get up off your ass, etc., etc. Women won't want to date you. Women don't want to date someone who's broke. Men, I don't think other men want to be around someone who's broke, but they'll be a little bit more accepting of it. But yeah, just, I know personally, I've talked about it on this channel about being unemployed and stuff, but, when you don't have money, you don't feel like the same person as when you do have money. You feel like a much more confident person when you have a little bit of money. You can get the things you want. And yeah, just being broke. Being broke or not having as much money versus a man with a lot of money definitely is hard. And it's only getting more difficult with the environment we live in, or at least if you're in America. But I think this is happening globally as well. Just not making enough money, not be able to move that, but no, not making enough money and not being able to move up the ladder. So yeah, financial success, hard. And the last one, and I think another big one, reputation of other men. So this was put on the thread. Do I have it pulled up here? Let me see. Yeah, so on the thread, the reputation that a select few bad men leave on the rest of us. So I kind of see this as like, oh, if a woman was for example, if a woman was like abused by one man, then like she'll look at the rest of the men and she's kind of like, oh, like she's fearful, understandably. But having bad men in your life, or I guess maybe from a woman's perspective, if you just constantly see men who are just being shitty and just not treating you well or treating the other women well, then when you see like a man who's treating you right, it may be a little bit harder for you to warm up to them. And I think as men, we have to do better to call out other men who are just being pieces of shit and just being bad examples of what we should be as a man. And, it carries over. I think especially as well, like being black, I don't think all black men are violent or thugs or whatever. But when you do see, if I do see other black men like that, it kind of carries over to me, even though I'm not doing anything like that and I'm not like that, but other people will see that and think, oh, this is what black people are like, or this is what black men are like. So yeah, I think we gotta do a better job as men, hold other men accountable, and just make sure we're not being awful people to each other. But yeah, being a man today, it is not fun. It could be a lot better. And I think we all, men and women, have to do a better job of holding each other accountable, being the best versions of each other, and just being what we want to see. I don't know. Yeah, that's this video. More videos soon. If you liked it, thank you so much. Until next time, I